That's pretty funny. All right. Let me get the stream going. Transition this over to all the stuff that we're working on right now. And let me get rid of this log. Probably that log. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So what are we working on today? We are, we're going to be updating the book. I took some notes the other day as we did a bunch of lab stuff, but I'm going to be updating the book and adding stuff to it. I want to get a new version of the book out and published for people by the end of this month. And one of the cool things about LeanPub is if you've ever bought the book before, you always get all future publications of it. So LeanPub kind of gives you this ability to write a book as you go. And we kind of finished the book at the beginning of the year, but I have just so many more labs I've been adding that I decided I was just going to do an update to it. So the labs and the book is called the Prolog Big Book of Labs, and all it deals in is technical skills for Linux, right? We have all the other stuff that we do, which is like doing Linux in the enterprise and understanding Linux and knowing where it fits, right? It's not just about being, so many people think that's just about being the smartest guy in the room that knows the most Linux, and that's valid, sure, but you also need to know how it interacts with the company and what the company's using it for. People don't just run Linux to run Linux, guys. They run Linux to have web servers and load balancing and security and applications and storage and all these other things that, Linux excels at. So anyway, so I'm going to be updating the book as we kind of go. And I've got it on the left. I've got all my notes over here on the right. But I thought I'd let you guys see some of the stuff. We've got the Linux admin course running still. The Linux security course is done. It finishes on the 21st. So people that are doing that only have a few more days. And it's only shaping up to like maybe 4 people finishing that course. We had like 138 at one point say they were going to do it. And it's a lot of work. It was hard. The labs were not easy. The technical stuff that we did is right there. That's not easy either. It's right there, I guess, above us. And then that's kind of what an example of the certificate's going to look like for people that want to get that cert, right? That's not the exact one right there, but that's kind of an example of what that'll look like for people that want to earn that certificate, right? So anyways, I thought that was kind of fun. We've got other ones for the Linux admin group, but the security engineering group is a little more... it's got padlocks on it and stuff. It looks a little cooler, but and the I guess if you want to say the exclusivity and the value of that cert is going to be directly related to what people learned from it and took away from it. I think that's always true, but I think that's lost nowadays, where it's like, hey, you just need a CISSP or CCSP or whatever. Well, that's cool, and that helps, but it's also good to be somebody that knows a bunch of things about how to do stuff as well. So anyways, all right, I'll get off my soapbox about that. I'm going to go fix some of this stuff up. So my first thing I need to do is I'm going to take part of this lab. So this is what's already written here. I think I should be able to, what's going on here? Yeah, I should be able to grab this, copy this stuff. Oh, going way too far down. Should be lab 9, yep. And we are going to add in right here a lab 10. So take that away. I'm going to make this lab 10, and 10 is package managers. And the link for package manager is going to be right here. So we're going to make sure that that's right. Yep, package managers. Task condition and standard is right here. So task given Linux system, find, update and remove software. Yep. Condition, given a bash prompt, complete in the allotted 60-minute time. Yep. Typical condition. And our standard is execute and understand commands given the output of a system. So we can do all that. Yep. And then now our reflection questions are going to be a little bit different. Obviously, we got to update our reflection questions. Now I'm wondering if in the reflection questions I've done the same thing. So I'm going to have to see how this looks when we do it, but we'll see how this kind of looks. So right here. All right, 1A. All right, we'll see what that looks like in the Markdown. Well, they use like a variation of Markdown, so we'll see how that looks. And then digging deeper, I actually don't have a digging deeper section for this. But we'll go ahead and pull that off for now and leave that. Okay. So we're going to call that good for package for part 10 right here, or lab 10 right here. And we will go and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. We put spaces in between each of these, so we'll continue with that. And then we'll be able to print some previews of this to see how it looks when we're good. So we'll want to check on 10, obviously, because we just did 10. But now we're going to go down and do lab 108, which is Kafka and Loki logging. So we're going to go down here and find lab, probably 107 will be our most recent one. Or the one right before it, if I had to guess. So there's 106 with Slurm. And then 107 right here. And then 201, yeah. So we're going to go right here. We're going to grab 107. Come down here. And we are going to clean this all up. Try to fit all on one. All right, this will be 108. And 108 was Kafka to Loki logging. That really should be capital. Like that. It's perfect. Go grab its actual lab here. By the way, if anybody has any questions about Linux or wants to see anything while I'm doing this, let me know. Yeah, Control Byte, there is Slurm on Kubernetes. I've seen that run before. I haven't done much with that in my space where I work. I do a fair amount with Slurm, but I always run it on bare metal. Given a system running Kubernetes, deploy Kafka, and then send messages in there. Yep. Wait, did you say? Oh yeah, Slurm. Slurm does run on there. Okay. Execute and understand the commands. Understand the output of the system. That is your standard. And then the questions, we did these questions the other day, so if anybody's like, wait, where are you getting all these questions from? We wrote these up the other day. And then we're going to put these spaces in. And we'll do a little bit of, well, I try to do a fair bit of quality control later, and I read through everything, and then I click all the links and make sure all the links are working correctly. But we did the Kafka to Loki logging in the logging section of our security engineering course, which is, if anybody was curious and was like, oh, I want to go watch the video on that, we did that in week. We did that in. Kafka would have been in Unit 6. So if you said, hey, is there a place for me to go check this and look at it? Yeah, it's in Unit 6. It's a recording of the security engineering course. So, all right, let me get that out of the way. Come back down here. And digging deeper. So I did have a little bit of a digging deeper section for this one. And this one was, read a little more about that. Now we're in 108. Yep, we're in 108, so we're not affecting any other one. We're going to say that and then that. How does Kafka do that? Okay. And I'm curious how that's gonna format, so we'll have to see if that looks the right way, the way that we'd like it to. Okay. So we did 107, 108 now. Make sure Kafka Loki logging, it's got the right lab, it's got the task condition and standard, and then there's reflection questions here that talk about what's going on with Kafka and Zookeeper, makes you go think about it a little bit, and then we come down here. All right. Now, whoops. Clean that up a little bit. Our next one is lab 109, which is fail to ban with monitoring, or fail to ban with log monitoring. So this one was fun to write. And let's go, we're gonna grab 109 here, right? Basically just, taking 108 here and turning it into 109 there. So let's go grab this, because a lot of the formatting's already there. So just grab this. It's a whole 108, good. and then that can all go away for now. Start at the top here. It's gonna be 109. What was the questions? Good to be back. I got a question about Yum. Have you ever had to configure CA certificates on an enterprise server specifically for HTTPD? No, I have had to do. Okay, hold on. So, not dealing with Yum. No, not with Yum or DNF. Neither of those package managers have I had to do that. If you're talking about have I had to do certificates on a repo that I'm sharing out myself, sure, I've had to set that up and secure that. There's actually some Apache stigs that'll show you how to do that. But no, other than that, like a lot of times when I do enterprise stuff, like if I'm using Satellite or something, you're actually using a tool under the hood called Catello, and Catello manages all of that for you. So look into a tool. You may find that Catello can do the things that you need. I don't use Catello individually. I've always used it as part of that agency, but I think Catello might be, and it looks like it's spelling it right. So that's an open source tool that's part of Satellite that may do what you need. So probably requires a lot more context from an architectural perspective. Do you have a preference over shared DB versus a DB per service in clusters with many microservices? Control by I don't maintain those type of things, but I will tell you that if the resource usage is small enough, I would always try to keep it 1-to-1. And it's the same thing with servers. Since we can make servers so small and since we can make microservices so small, we only make them for one purpose. So like if you said, hey, we could put your Prometheus and Grafana on the same server, I'd be like, why? Nowadays, let's put it on 2, and then I can maintenance one or maintenance the other without effect. Hell, we put it on 4 because servers are so lightweight nowadays, have 2 redundant and 2 redundant. Right? You see what I'm saying? Like, it can start to get really crazy. But my thoughts on that are be as small as you can to the individual unit. So if you were going to do that, that's how I would do that. Yeah, Zorgol, loose coupling is the idea. Yeah, that things can talk to other things, and then you can pull a component out and put a new component in. So loose coupling enables what we call modularity in a system. It's the idea that you could just pick up a train car and put another train car in there, and it should just work. And truly it should, right? I mean, that's how that should all kind of work. So, Castampin said, wait, I'm missing stuff, sorry. Castampin said, we have a local repository that utilizes HTTPD to communicate with our local Yum servers. Just wondering if it was a common thing or not. No, but we do harden those. So Castampin, we do go to, let me pull up our little thing here, because I've kind of thought about as we talk and stuff, I'm always just going to open things up here. So there is a, damn it, it's always the timing thing. DOD, yeah. So the stigs, there is a stig viewer for, and again, I don't even know what just happened there. There is a stig for Apache. You do have to, or you should harden your system to this, and at least turn HTTPS on, so then your system knows, right? Because your server that's running as the local repository, if it's shared over the network, is probably using HTTPD. I can almost, unless you're doing something uniquely insane, I can almost guarantee you that you're using, Apache 2.4. Oh, I already have those downloaded, so I don't need it. I already have those in my stig viewer, but you would download it, you would import it into your stig viewer, and then you can make checklists and you can secure your system, and everybody can be happy and they can dance and all that good stuff. So, HA perspectives, backup, disaster recovery, database. Yeah, I've come from an old school control byte where I used to always put databases on physical machines, and then the only databases that I've ever put in my career on virtual machines were always like test or whatever mess around databases, and that's kind of how I've always used Kubernetes. I've just used Kubernetes to like deploy like a 3-tier type app, and then I can write and prove that I can read, and then after that it's like, okay, now we got to productionize this. I've not really done any production Kubernetes in that sense. The only production Kubernetes I've done has always been around like on a high performance compute system, like the management nodes off to the side, what I would call nodes that don't really matter that much to us. At least from that perspective. So, all right, let me answer my questions here. So this one, hold on. We just had 108 Kafka to Loki. Now we're doing 109, which is fail to ban with log monitoring. And we'll pull that thing off the end. And then we're going to update this. Now, so you guys know, I do plan on recording everything in the book individually as like individual pages and modules. So it'll be basically all my Killer Coda labs, and then I'm going to keep those up on YouTube. And then I might even, I was talking to the wife, I might even plan on like maybe just having a system here that can run those during the day. So if people want to come in and like study, I'll be doing stuff maybe even on a different computer completely, and that one will just be running through those labs and environments. And then you guys can do, some of you guys have been in the environment where you can send stuff up into our Discord. When I have that turned on, you'll be able to ask questions about the videos directly into Discord. And I think that would be a useful thing for people, because then I'll do something in the Discord where the people that answer the most questions correctly or help out the most will, I don't know, I'll do some kind of bounty or something for that. So that'll be kind of cool, I think, for people. Yeah, good old Stig Viewer, yeah. Yeah, and then it's using HBD. Yeah, sorry, I was scrolled up a little bit, guys, so I didn't even see that. Custampin, I just saw that now. But yeah, you guys are welcome to hang out. I've found that I kind of just do well when I'm kind of just doing stuff on my own over here, and then just kind of check and chat as we go. I don't think in my lot in life is not to be a super interactive streamer, I've found, or at least it doesn't work that well for me. Let's say it that way. I don't know if that's just me or if that's my lot in life, right? You deal with it. All right. Understand execute commands, fail to ban. Yep. Boom. All right. So fail to ban with log monitoring. Here's our link. Given a Linux system, protect your system with fail to ban, and then tie it into your monitoring solution. So we pretend like the monitoring solution always existed, but it doesn't. We have to build it in that lab. So that's just another one for you guys to practice on. Reflection questions here. And we may even, as we do this, we may even go through these again. I might even pull up the Killer Coda, and we might just do these labs again right now as well. Yeah, so anyway, so let's do this. Boom. I'm going to put those spaces because that's what we have for the other ones. And then digging deeper. I don't even have a digging deeper on this section, so I'm going to just pull that off here. I may add these. I may come in and add some of these. I think on other ones I had been leaving them even if they were empty. Let me go see. Let me go look. I don't really know what my standard is. I also had a standard. At one point I was doing use in the enterprise, so we were going even further, right? Reflection question, digging deep. Yeah, so I've left digging deeper even if we weren't really using it as a thing that we could put more in there if we wanted. All right, so that was 109. Let's go do 110. Fail to ban with metric alerting. So also, let's clean this up for the okay. This will be 110. And it will be fail to ban with metric alerting. And this one actually requires, if you really want to do this lab, this requires you to have a Discord or Slack or a Teams where you can go drop messages as they're causing. So as we alert out, so we talked about monitoring in two ways when we did the security engineering course. One was monitoring and then parsing the logs in real time, using SIEM solutions, using your own tools, parsing logs and looking at them. And the other one was using metrics and logs and things that were coming out and monitoring things and sending alerts out of closed systems. So like, I mean, if you maybe you've never even thought about this, but like your desktop, your laptop machine, your whatever you're using for your daily driver, that is a closed system. And when you walk away from it, you get no alerts out of it, right? But maybe you have something on your phone for Slack or something. But my point is, what rises to a level of alert that you would want that to send out to you, right? And that's what we have to look at as systems engineers. Like, we're going to all walk away from the system we're only going to be on the system for 8 to 10 hours a day, maybe as systems admins and engineers, and then we're going to leave. Maybe we leave a skeleton crew to keep track of stuff, but they can only monitor so much. So what in the system would we want to like set off a pressure? Have any of you guys ever I'm sure some of you have set tea on a little kettle, right? And what happens when you boil the water in a kettle? What is the thing? What is the one signal that comes out when the kettle is ready? Anybody here know? Right? It starts whistling, right? It's the whistling of steam leaving through a pressurized valve, right? And it goes. I can't do it. I know I can whistle, but my lips are real dry. Right? It's just this one little note of like a high-pitched thing. So anyways, my point is not to show you guys that I can't whistle very well, but more to say that you have to alert, right? You alert when it's ready, or in our case, we want to alert when something is no longer ready or when something falls over, right? So giving a bash prompt, that's there. And then the last one is execute the commands and alert from a closed system out to Discord. So again, this is one of those ones, if you're going to do this one, you could set, technically, I don't know if you guys know this, you could have your own Discord. You could just have a Discord with you sitting in it if you wanted. You don't even have to open it up to anybody. I think you can only do that once or twice, though. And you can then go and send something to yourself and have your own little alert channel in your own Discord if you wanted. But we just used our Discord because, you know, that's more convenient, right? And that would also be for people that are doing the lab. You could also use our Discord as well. You just got to get with me about it, right? Just let me know. All right. So we'll look at that. We'll see if that comes out the way we want, right? I'm curious how these are going to look when we print this. I don't have any. Oh, I do have digging deeper on this one, right? So digging deeper on this one is going to ask some questions. It's for 10, yeah. All right, there we go. So when you look at a flux query from lab, does it make sense? Okay, yeah, because we were doing flux query out of InfluxDB 2. So we were using InfluxDB version 2, and then we were doing a flux query on that one. So that one's there. Okay. Now we've got lab 209. So we got to go to the end of the security labs, right? So 201 is, let's see, 201 is attempted user login. 202 is attempted sudo access. We've done those ones quite a bit as a group, right? 203, update the golden image. That's very important in the industry, you know, making sure you don't reintroduce old threats. Building a chroot jail, or chroot, people call it, right? You do that however you want. Setting up an uncomplicated firewall. Setting up rsyslog. Operating system STIG with this SCC tool. We have one that's going to be stuck in here, I think. Hold on. Yeah. So we're going to go TL. Okay, so that one's going to be later. All right, let's come back. Don't jump ahead. So 206 was setting up rsyslog. 207 was operating system STIG scan with SCC tool. So we did a STIG scan to see how Ubuntu does. Not good. Then we looked at how Firefox does, also very poorly without being stigged or locked down in some way. And then we run out. So we got to 208, and then, yeah, now we have these next ones to do. So we're going to add 208 here and get down into, whoops, right here. Reflection, questions, okay. Control C. Come up here, 209. And what are we doing on 209? We're doing OS STIG remediation. So we actually remediate the STIGs that we found, not just finding them. And how did we remediate them? Well, we went and found a remediation tool, and then we went and took it all apart and looked at it, right? So given a Linux system, deploy an Ansible playbook to secure it. That's our task. Our standard is, our condition is there, and then we used Ubuntu, Ansible to harden Ubuntu 2404 system. So there we go. All right, reflection questions here. Okay. Now we need to make a section that wasn't there before, which is digging deeper, right? And that'll highlight, and then go check out this other one. You could rescan that system with that lab if you wanted to, and that would give you a little more maybe information and output. Okay. Then we built we built a real Bastion host. We had played around with the jail earlier in one of the labs, Now we're going to build it out as an actual. So I'm just going to grab this section here, and we're going to make this because we're not going to need that part. So for this, we're going to scroll up here. And we're going to say 210. This one was Bastion host. Yep. Task given to Linux systems. Set up a Bastion login between them. Yep. Completing the allotted 60-minute time. Good. Login through Bastion as a jailed user. There we go. Flexion questions. Whole bunch of them. A whole bunch with these ones. And then all right. And then we don't have a digging deeper for that one, so that's probably fine. And then 211 is going to have a good amount of digging deeper on this one. So let's go ahead and grab this. 210. And we're going to do 211. This one was fun, setting up our syslog with TLS. So some of you guys did TLS encryption between the two, so you could only talk to the endpoint was only going to catch things that came over TLS. And we set it up on one system, but maybe you could have taken the process that we did and turned that into an Ansible playbook. That may be one that we do in the automation section, right? But anyway, set up TLS. Let's grab this lab. Here's our lab link. Boom, TLS. Task given to Linux systems. Set up our syslog over TLS between them. The original lab only did it in UDP, right? And UDP, like UDP's fine, right? Like quick and dirty in a home lab or whatever, but for government systems, for things that you really want to secure, we don't really use UDP for traffic, right? UDP should not be the standard. And here's all of our reflection questions. Bunch of them. And these were ones that we wrote up the other day while we were working through it. So if you're wondering where I got all these notes, we did this a couple weeks ago. I just haven't put it back into the book. Now I'm putting it back into the book, and we're just talking about the stuff. Also, we did hit 4,000 users the other day in our Discord, so that's kind of cool. Discord's a little bit more like persistent. You can hang out and talk with other people, and it's a little more, there's like more permanence around. I don't know, guys are studying in there. There's all kinds of good stuff going on. In fact, there's a bunch of study groups. I saw a new study group pop up just a little while ago, right? You go in here. You go on this little thing. You go scroll up. It's kind of interesting. My thing stopped going to like streamer mode, because typically when you go in streamer mode, your Discord will automatically like kind of stop like full names from showing up and stuff, but whatever. There's an admin group starting tomorrow at 5 p.m. If you look this up in the Discord, it'll be in your time. Got a Bash study group on Saturday. We got our Linux sysadmin course this Saturday, and then the big stuff coming up at the beginning of August. I'll be letting you guys know about that more as it kind of goes, and then just kind of hang out in there and talk the whole time throughout the day or whatever. We kind of hang out and do different stuff. All right. So I want you guys to go read some stuff in this one around moving into automation or digging deeper into those topics. And I could make that into a hyperlink, but we'll leave the hyperlink and we'll see what it looks like. But maybe we could do, because we can do this with it as well if we wanted to, right? But maybe we want to leave the hyperlink out for everybody to see, so maybe we'll leave it like this. We'll see how that looks when we go get in there. And then I started adding a new set of labs that start with 400. And we have an Ansible lab to add too. So let's add this 400 lab because, well, we didn't have one of these before. So 211. Boom. And I need that also will this will also put a fire under me to make more of these 400 level labs, because I really enjoy these ones. They're short. They focus on one tool. I was gonna do LSOF and the one like I did. Then I was gonna do S trace and I was gonna do L trace and show why you would use them, and maybe I could use some other specific tooling to really kind of drill in on like what processes are doing and stuff, because that's at the end of the day how you know your tools is gonna affect how you do your work in a troubleshooting environment, right? If you don't know what to do, then you're just going to sit there and, you know, not be as effective as you could be if you like actually spent time learning your tools. So this one is designed to help you troubleshoot with LSOF and looks at things that I've had to do often with LSOF in my career, kind of. Where is my lab link for that? I'm going to have to go get the lab link for that. So that's going to be here, here. Let's go get it. I don't know exactly where it is. It's at the bottom of Linux. 36 labs now for just Linux, so we got a whole bunch of them. And it should be LSOF use and troubleshooting. So this will be the lab link right here. Yep. And then this one is given to Linux systems. Test LSOF usage. Given a bash prompt, complete in time. Complete the lab without crying. That's the actual standard for this lab. No, this is use. We'll say use. I messed around when I wrote that, but I can't remember. I can't believe I wrote that. So use LSOF to examine processes and that are touching a file system or port on your Linux server. There you go. That's good enough. And then the questions, we had a bunch of reflection questions about that as we did all that stuff. So we'll come here, we'll update all these. Man, that thing's fast. But all right, here we go. There we go. All right. Now we got to go move down to the Ansible section, and we'll go do the Ansible one. I'm going to move out of that because we don't need to do that lab right now. But we'll move to the bottom of the Ansible section, which has all of our Ansible labs. And I got to update. So now with these guys, I'm going to have to update these Ansible labs in PNG. Also, I got to go fix something real quick. That's going to really bug me. Hold on a second here. There's some kind of follower something. All right. Maybe I gotta go look at the page. All right. Well, I'll mess with it later, but I hate when that thing keeps popping up like every 5 followers, and it's like, oh yeah, hey, like you guys hit a new followers goal. It's like I don't give a shit when 3 more people show up and say they want to learn something. Like, like, tell me at like 1,000 or 10,000 or something. Actually, I should just turn whatever that stupid thing is off. But all right, we're going down to 102. Might be able to just do like page down. All right, so did I shorten these in some way? All right, I do gotta go look at my Ansible labs. Like how did I number these? All right, firewall configuration, and then okay, enterprise Ansible patching was down here by itself. And all right, I guess we'll take all these. We really should add in that these are reflection questions. Yeah, we need to go grab something from up above and make these better. But anyways, we'll come down here and we'll go here and we're gonna say this is 101, 102 rather. This could be. And then we're going to find the right link for it, which is here. Ansible patching. And then this, none of these have, well, I don't think any of these have task condition standards. That's fine. All right, so we'll put the reflection questions in, and then we'll come back after and fix. There we go. Also, those appear to have indented numbers, so. Digging deeper looks different as well. All right. So digging deeper needs to be and then up here needs to be right, reflection questions. And looks like we need to put those up and down. All of this. We're gonna have to check all of these. I just think it looks better to have a reflection like let people know what they're doing. Reflection questions. Reflection questions. Yadav over on the YouTube side, how's it going? We are just updating the book. I am finding many things in which I did not make these completely standard. Kind of changed up my formatting halfway through. Also, you got to remember I wrote this book in sections, so now as I'm going back through, I'm finding things that I think would look nicer if we added them in here. Do they change the the major functional? Not that much, but we'll check it here in a little bit. Inventories, reflection questions, reflection questions. All right, so that's all the way back up, and then we could go and do. We won't add the task condition standard, all of those right now. Maybe we'll do it on another time or something, but we'll figure that out. Sinbleed, what are you saying? You were working on a driver enhancement for kernel and RDMA, RDA or Ethernet is the next big thing. Nice, yeah. I've used RDMA a lot. But not RDA. That would be interesting if it was just with Ethernet. Yeah, data center networking with kernel accelerated data path via RDMA. I could see that being big because I was saying this on stream a while ago, and I don't think you were probably around for it, but I was telling everybody when you get these big clusters of systems that I work in, and then we have, you know, all the individual nodes are doing what they're doing, and then all of your high-speed networks are going back to your Mellanox and doing all that, and then you have multiple object storage servers in Lustre or GPFS, you know, nodes for moving data. What you find is the thing that becomes the bottleneck over all other things, when all these data, you know, all the data are being moved around in the system, the number one thing that really becomes a bottleneck is the switch backplane. And, you know, if you're able to increase the speed in any way, and if you're just talking Ethernet, right, that's going to be on some of our slower. Typically, those are like our management channels. We do backend InfiniBand and all these other things, but they use RDMA as their underlying, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah. InfiniBand's huge in what I do. I use almost exclusively InfiniBand for my data path networks, and for people that are like, "What the hell is this guy talking about?" It's kind of all this stuff. So if we go to our NIST. And then this is one I sometimes show you guys in the NIST 220-3. This high performance. Oh, right here. Typically what they call like a high performance network right here. Kind of that thing that they call that right here. All these high performance networks tend to be some type of InfiniBand or other thing in the background. I haven't messed with ROCE. I wonder what that is. So. Yeah, I haven't played with any of that. That's interesting. Yeah. So high performance networks can be anything that gets your compute talking to your storage in a effective way, right? Typically, we're building at least 400 gig networks into this for each system to have compute nodes back to storage, and then storage can sometimes be, I guess, some of my storage path for like my storage nodes, like especially like Weka nodes. I'm building a lot of Weka stuff. Can be about 1 terabyte, and that sorry, 1 terabit per second network speed into the device, right? And then that's pretty wild because and you say, how do you achieve that? Well, sometimes you have up to 8 different InfiniBand cards in that machine operating over, and they use RDMA, so they're going directly to the memory, bypassing all the kernel stuff. It's very fast, very fast. Yeah, that's interesting. RDMA over converged Ethernet. That's interesting too. Yeah. Mostly in cap UDP, bigger MTU, and big TCP is preferred. Yep. Yeah. We use it's really interesting. I've showed before the architecture that Weka uses, and it's funny because for a long time I thought Weka was actually owned by Dell when I was working, because so many projects I was working with these Weka guys that I was just like, are you guys owned by Dell? Like, does Dell own you guys? Like, what's going on here? Let's go into a preview page here now. Because I do, here's the last preview of the book that I generated. So I haven't updated the book in a while. I published it, but anyways, let's go download the books currently published. Yep. Okay, so we'll download a PDF of the current version of the book right now to look at. So let's see, can we open this in right here? So here's current version of the book right now, and let's go look at, so we can jump to any of these. Let's go look at some of the things that we added right now. So like down here into this was one that we just added. Firefox Stig Scan. Actually, no, hold on. None of the ones we just added are. Hold on. I gotta republish this. That's not the right version of the book. So we need to come down here and create a new preview. So we need to create a preview. Doesn't publish, doesn't change the version of the book again. And then it's going to tell me up here all the things that it's doing. And then it'll generate the PDF. Yeah, I looked at that, and 208 was not the most recent thing that we had just done. So we need to get that. X showing you how to grab the book. The book is actually the only thing that I sell. Everything else I do is free, but the book's on LeanPub. So if you do !book over on YouTube, that's the easiest way to find it. I gotta put my dashboard back up, right? My dashboard doesn't look right. There it is. There's better. All right. So now, last preview of the book was made on my older brother's birthday. It's my older brother's birthday today. Now I can download a version of this, and then we're gonna look at this one. All right. Open it here, and we are gonna jump down to. Yeah, so here's troubleshooting with LSOF. So that's there. That looks more like what I want. Right, here's this one. TLS, task condition standards, good. Task condition standards, yep. That's fine. OS Stig remediation, I think that all looks good. All right, and then I need to go down all the way to the bottom and look at the, so that's not gonna format right. And these ones are not going to format the way that I want either. So I have to think about what I'm going to do with those. I don't know if I need to. I guess I can put a space, like more of a space between them. And then that should maybe look better. Yeah, I gotta think about how to do that. How I'm gonna do that. right there. Okay. Go back to our, I think, right. So it's back to writing in the book. Okay. So then we go back down here. We go page down. All the way to Linux Labs right at the end here. And then, yeah, we just got to figure out how to get these things that we were doing here. So I'm on lab 211, right? Scroll up here to 211. And this A isn't properly going to the next line. So right here, this A is staying within that one. So I'm curious if I just did that, if that'll fix the problem. So what we'll do here, scroll back up all the way to the top. Here we go. Back to preview page. Let's go. We're going to regenerate it. I want to see if it fixes that. Get rid of this one. So TLS on 211. We tried to fix this one thing to see. So we'll give it a second, let it generate, and then we'll go from there. But I can only do so many of these a month. I think it's like, I think they only let me do like 30 of them a month or something. I don't do very many, obviously, but yeah, I can't do that many of them. All right, so let's go to 211, right? Go look at how our stuff's going. 211, and now, okay, so now it looks right. So for that to look the way that we want, and we're gonna have to fix it for a few of these, right? And what I'll probably do is I'll pull the preview over here, right? So I have the preview here. And then I'm going to go back over here to my right, and I'm going to fix all of these new ones that we just did to make sure that they have all of the things underneath like they should. So what was the most recent one? Probably the OS Stig remediation. Let's go look. Let's go to the start here. What was the first one we did? First one we did was 10. So we'll go check lab 10. And yeah, we have to fix those on lab 10. So let's go over here. Scroll down to lab 10. It won't take too long. Okay, lab 10. And for these to work, we have to give them an extra space so that they properly show in there. All right, 108. Oh wait, I went too far. All right, so 108. Let's make sure that there's none of those that are like that either. So A will go down. A will go down. These will also go down. Okay. 109, same. 110, you're gonna have a few of them in 110. Boom, boom. Probably have to do that for that to go in. And then we definitely have to do that. And then that, and that, there. Okay. 201, all right. Minute. Where are we at here? 110. All right. So we did 110. Now we got to jump to 209 to be at the bottom of this. Go find our 209. See if there's any in there. There are quite a few in there. 209. Space, space, and that's fine. 210, quite a few of them in here. 7. Okay. 211. We already fixed 211 there. We got to fix this one and this one. Okay. Digging deeper, all that stuff's fine. 400, we gotta fix a few in here. There. There. And then for 102 at the end of this, we got a few down here to fix. So 102. That was no good. Boom, 4, and then we gotta do that, and that, and that. Okay, there we go. That should probably be pretty close to that stuff all being updated. All right, let's, yeah, so there's quite a few of those. And then I gotta look at, does that link work? That link would take me to there. Okay, I'm queued up because I'm already in a lab, which is fine. I gotta update these too because these are the checklists. So general configuration and security. And I'm gonna have to add a new one that's around tool use. So that might even be added as a new one. So these are just images that I do inside of VS Code. Well, or it's Excalidraw inside. It's the Excalidraw extension inside of VS Code, right? Or you can draw them out anywhere else you wanted. So, 0 to 99 labs on general command line. Yeah. And then I'll also have to update this because it'll have to be 400 to 499 will be labs on Linux security topics. But I need to then go look actually. What do I have in the 300s? I must have something up there in the 300s. Because if I jumped right down to 400, what did I skip? Or what didn't we add? So there's the 200s. So I have a lot of data visualization stuff to build into labs, and those are the 300s. So the tools will be 400 labs. Oh, I didn't even include this, so this would be something else for us to add in. Oh, Shunya, you need to. The book is on the other side. Hold on. I'll do it there, and then I'll link it over there. Sorry. Yeah, it doesn't go on the doesn't go on the YouTube side. Sorry. And you know what? I don't even have that tool open right now. My StreamerBot, but typically StreamerBot will do all that stuff for me too. But I don't even have that open right now. So that was a question for YouTube. That's why I did that over on the Twitch side of things. So I need to I started to do the data visualization stuff, and now that we have a bunch of data sets to use, I got to load those up into the labs so that you guys can use those data sets to do stuff with. Because see, all the data visualization that you do for like dashboards and stuff, you guys know you can use those same tools for data visualizations. And I don't know, if you wanted to do your own data visualization around like HIPAA compliance violations or whatever, you could do your own dashboards on any data that you can get your hands on. So something to think about. Yeah, I think in general though that's a good start on the book. I think the next part will be fixing these and updating these, but the technical stuff that I wanted to get out of here, I think is pretty well done, or it's pretty well. We've gotten this data that we captured the other day in there, so that's good. So what else could we talk about? Well, the other day we were doing, what's this, admin security? We were talking about things that admins need to know in some of our labs. I did actually think about adding this into the book as well, as just like the security portion, or in each of these labs. It would add a lot. I don't know if it would overload people though, but I think it's still very, very useful. These are all these different labs that we were on. We keep working on this too. 6, 7, 2, 8. Yeah, we could keep going. with all of these if we wanted to. This was a little project we did. This was a complete aside that we did one day where we just went through a bunch of admin security stuff and looked at, you know, more things that specifically, you know, when I wrote all these labs, it was for the Linux admin. Like you want to be a Linux administrator in a company and that's what you tell me you want to do. Well, I can help you do that, but these are the things you need to know. Well, this was the same thing, but it was with security. So it was like what a Linux admin needs to know about security. And then if we did these labs, these would be the questions that we would ask ourselves. Where do we check for alerts on logins? How do we check that configurations are good for logging, or where logging occurs in our system in case it's been modified, right? Because you might say, well, I know that for a default Ubuntu system. And I say, well, congratulations, but you don't know how somebody set it up in their company. You don't know how the guy before you, guy or girl, I guess, is before you set it up. You don't know. So now you got to go check. Where would you check? Logging isn't going where I expect logging to go. Why? Well, maybe something changed in there. Something, you know. So these are a bunch of sets of questions and stuff. We can go into that. We had real Linux jobs that we were looking at the other day. We could go into that as well if we wanted to. I was even showing, so let's see what's this one. This was, we were updating, so some of you guys saw me the other day, I was updating the login to our Bastion system for the ProLug lab, and then we changed the way that worked. So that was that, and then I was showing this was actually something I pulled up for my college students. Let's say you wanted to get a CCNA, how would you study for it? Or some of you guys are doing your RHCSA, what would you study for it? What would you want to do? And I would tell you, go grab the exact thing. This is exactly what the CCNA requires right here. And I would make sure that I understand all of these components right here. And how would I understand it? Well, I'd probably pick up a book. I'd probably make sure that I could do those tasks according to how Cisco says to do them, since it's a Cisco certification, and I would do that. If it was Red Hat, I would go grab the Red Hat stuff, and I would do all the component pieces for Red Hat to be able to pass their test. Okay. This is saved, so I can close this down. All right. What else do we have? Had some other stuff up here that was useful or interesting. Oh, this was our how the stream works when we turn on, because we got all this stuff set up for like the little tracker for all the AI stuff, right? Actually, it closed down today because I was doing other stuff in my home lab, but this is like a B-top, and then all of our connections. Yeah, I forgot I had changed over to my other network, so this stuff all busted. But this is like so you guys can ask questions in Discord, and you guys can ask questions out here, and then it goes into the little AI bot and it gives you answers. I think that's kind of funny. It's AI, it's LLM, right? It's just an LLM pretending to be something, but it gives information that sounds super accurate even when it's not, but it's still, I don't know, it's still kind of interesting for some people. So, but these are all dead windows, so I can kill them all. They're not really doing nothing for us. All right, well, unless we just wanted to sit around and do labs, I probably don't have anything else for us to do today. We got all the book stuff in, so that was good. We have, security stuff and real Linux. The job stuff, I think people have been finding useful. What are you doing? How are you finding, how are you looking for work? And then how are you making sure that you have those things on your resume and that kind of stuff? We've talked about that quite a bit. Yeah, it's all good stuff, I think, to know, right? You gotta be able to do this stuff. You gotta be able to talk to this stuff. And when I say talk to this stuff, I mean any of those data points. If somebody asks you, how do you maintain comprehensive documentation of system configurations, processes, and procedures? This is what I would do. I would use whatever we have as a wiki. I would use Markdown if I needed to. I would use the wiki Markdown, which is slightly different than normal Markdown. I would draw things out via Excalidraw typically for like how I think the components work, and then I would bounce that off the other engineers and make sure that sounds right, and then I would start to make that part of my procedures and whatever I'm doing. So all right, well, I don't really have much Nobody's talking, so I have to assume that that we're pretty much done then. So let's go ahead and I don't know. We'll find anybody to raid. There's probably nobody to raid tonight, so we'll probably just call it here. I appreciate you guys all coming up. IO with the 7 TV. I could set that up. I need to do that one of these days. I just haven't gotten around to it. So yeah, maybe we'll plan that in one of the future systems or something. But yeah. So I won't even raid out tonight because we don't have too many people on. But